Hello. This is Antje from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I've put together a breakdown on how to navigate the paradoxical outcomes matchup when playing Doomsday, as well as my approach to sideboarding. This was my first time facing this matchup, so as usual, the gameplay itself is a bit rough. I put this video together from the perspective of how I could improve and what I should have done better. There's also a link to the pile breakdown video in the description, so feel free to check it out. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. I'll keep this hand since it looks like I can go all in on the first turn. At this point, I assumed my opponent was on Mystic Forge combo. I'm going all in. From here, I'll increase the mana needed for the combo. I was caught off guard by the unexpected counterspell and couldn't hide my surprise. Even though I had a cycler in my hand, I accidentally clicked OK without thinking. LOL, I'm going to dig for Dark Ritual. Surveil's effect sends it to the graveyard. Up to this point, I still haven't figured out my opponent's archetype. It's not blue post, it's not show and tell. I'm really not sure what they're on. It's only here that I finally realize my opponent is on Paradoxical Outcome, but I honestly have no idea what their exact card list looks like. Given how their deck fires off a bunch of spells in a row, my only assumption is that they probably aren't running Chalice of the Void. And this is where the adventure comes to an end. I think the biggest reason I lost was letting the One Ring resolve without cycling the card I had in my hand. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. Here are the actual sideboard ins and outs I used during the match. Since I wasn't sure about my opponent's exact build, I brought an extirpate. But it turns out they were running not only Glaring Fleshraker but also Etherflux Reservoir, so extirpate alone wasn't going to win the matchup. In hindsight, I don't think it was necessary to bring it in. Everyone, please use this example. First, I'd like to go over the basic sequence of how Paradoxical Outcome works. Just like the Mystic Forge combo, it develops mana artifacts along with Manifold Key. After that, they play Glaring Fleshraker onto the battlefield. And then they replenish the resources they spent from their hand using cards like Stock Up, the One Ring, and Paradoxical Outcome. Because Paradoxical Outcome can return the mana artifacts they played early back to their hand, your opponent can replay them and reuse them as fuel for Glaring Fleshraker. Now, let's get into the main topic. These are the cards in Paradoxical Outcome that can affect Doomsday. First are the counterspells, Force of Will, Consign to Memory, Force of Negation, and Sink into Stupor. To address these, we add Force of Negation, Flusterstorm, and Duress. In exchange, I trim the speed-focused cards such as Personal Tutor, Edge of Autumn, Cabal Ritual, and Lotus Petal. Next is Disruptor Flute. Against this, I bring Envision Charm and Hide in the Ceiling. Hide in the Ceiling can also answer their Saga tokens. In exchange, I take out Daze. This is because my opponent plays many mana-producing lands like Ancient Tomb, so Daze becomes obsolete much more quickly in this matchup. And I bring in Sheoldred the Apocalypse. This depends on how the game develops, but Shieldred can restrict their card draw from Paradoxical Outcome or the One Ring, and it also helps by shifting the axis of the matchup. Lastly, there's Kozilek's Command. When I go for the Thassa's Oracle win, they can use the Scry mode on my library, and that can sometimes cause me to lose by getting decked. Since my opponent doesn't run that much removal, depending on how the game unfolds, it can be important to go for the kill while keeping extra cards in the pile to play around Kozilek's Command. After using Duress to clear their threats, it looks like I can hold up one counter and go all in early, so I decide to keep this hand. If Doomsday is on top, I can go all in from here, so I start by cycling. Even if it flips a land, that's perfectly fine. I'm digging for land. Didn't find it, so I shuffle. I'm digging for land. I stacked the cards as Edge of Autumn, Fetchland, Dual Land and drew them in that order, but because I already had enough mana, it would have been better to keep only the fetch land. I'll use discard to check what's ahead. I took out Force of Will. I'll search for Doomsday. I'm going all in. From here, I'll increase the mana needed for the combo. I'll counter it with Force of Will. I'm digging for Doomsday. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. I cast it for its warp cost. It would be ideal if a discard spell shows up. I'll use discard to check what's ahead. I took out Grim Monolith. I recast Quantum Riddler. I'll counter it with Force of Negation. I named Wizard. Since my opponent has the One Ring in hand, I play Shieldred the Apocalypse first. My use of draw sources after this was all over the place. Since I already had Doomsday in my hand, the better line would have been to use Brainstorm to keep only a land and Doomsday as protection against Disruptor Flute, and then just go straight for the combo. If I wanted to dig for Force of Will, it would have been better to put back Doomsday and Extirpate, and keep Personal Tutor and Ponder as my blue count. It just so happened that by casting Brainstorm, I ended up in a position where I could stop one spell with Force of Will. In Game 3, I took out Extirpate and brought one copy of Daze back in. I'm looking for a faster hand, so I'll take a mulligan. I put Thassa's Oracle on the bottom, but it would have been better to bottom Cavern of Souls instead so that I could disrupt them twice. I'm going all in. From here, I'll increase the mana needed for the combo. I'll counter it with Force of Will. Since my opponent likely doesn't have removal, I place Thassa's Oracle as the third card in the pile and go for an early kill. Since I have Cavern of Souls in my hand, I pair it with Street Wraith to blank their counterspells and push for the win. Since Consign to Memory and Disruptor Flute can be losing lines for me, I bring in Vision Charm and a second copy of Thassa's Oracle as insurance. I built the pile as Thassa's Oracle, Vision Charm, Thassa's Oracle, Street Wraith, Street Wraith. I name Wizard. Using the pile opener to start drawing through the pile. I win with Thassa's Oracle. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.